Welcome to Ryazan. What's up guys, welcome to another video. I've just arrived in a brand new city, Ryazan. 2-hour train ride away from Moscow, and it's the capital of Ryazan Oblast. Ryazan was founded over 900 years ago in actually a different location from here. It's been located here about 700 years, which making it a pretty historical place. It's the third biggest city in central Russia behind Moscow and Yaroslavl, with over 500,000 people. However, this city is not really frequented that often by tourists. It's a major industrial center and a major train center, meaning people pass through here, people come to work here, but people don't really come to visit. However, I've done my research. I know there's some sights to see, and I can't wait to have a look around this, a brand new place for me. We start here in Ryazan, as in almost every city in Russia, in Lenin Square, and you can see behind me here a statue of Vladimir Lenin. This statue in particular was built in 1937. You can see it's the classic one with a long coat and his arm stretched out. And behind Lenin, as you can see, they have a wonderful pedestrianised shopping street called Pochtovaya Ulitsa, which we're going to have a look down right now. This statue behind me here is of Prince Oleg of Ryazan. He's the most famous Grand Prince of Ryazan from the 14th century. He originally sided with the Golden Horde, the Mongols, against Moscow, and then eventually made peace with Moscow and took their side, and now he's honored here with a statue. Behind me here is the most famous, the most important site here in Ryazan, the Resin Kremlin. As you can see behind me, this is beautiful architecture. It actually has 8 churches amongst other buildings, and actually comes from the 11th century. Kremlin means fortress, meaning this was originally a fortress but is no longer. However, it retains some aspects of a fortress, such as this, a very big dry moat which goes all the way round a raised hill. And one benefit of that hill, you can take excellent photos from almost any angle. As well as the natural barriers which still remain today, this Kremlin was incredibly well fortified in the 11th century, as they fought wars originally with Moscow and later with the Golden Horde of Mongolia. As well as the fortifications that were built, this place is surrounded by hectares of forest and also the river Oka, meaning it was very difficult to take over Ryazan. Also part of the Ryazan Kremlin is the Spaso-Preobrazhensky Monastery. This place was founded a long time ago, at least the 1400s. There is great evidence suggesting this was started before the 15th century, but the exact date is not known. However, the walls surrounding this monastery are from the 18th century, but in fact everything here is pretty old. This here is the Church of the Transfiguration of the Saviour on the ravine. It's a very long name, but the locals here just call it Spas na Yaru. This is a very interesting and unique church from all the churches I've seen in Russia, mainly because of the gold and silver colour scheme. You don't often find that on churches. In fact, these silver ones here look a little bit like disco balls to me. This church was built in 1695. And today it's still a working church. The only stop in its working as a church, of course, was during the Soviet Union, when this church in particular was used as a military school. Nowadays inside it's very beautiful, outside it's very beautiful and unique too. And from here you have a very beautiful view of the Kremlin. Outside that very unique church is the statue of Sergeyesenin. Sergeyesenin was born very close to here in a village in Ryazan Oblast in 1895. He is one of the favourite sons of this area, having produced poetry which is famous not only in Russia but throughout the world. In his honour, they built this statue on his 80th birthday, or what would have been his 80th birthday, in 1975, and it depicts him coming out of the ground right here. This behind me here is the Kazan convent, a female monastery here in Ryazan. The convent was originally founded in the 15th location far away from here, and was moved to this site here in the 18th century. This particular building, this beautiful red brick building, was built in 1870 and now stands here, very beautiful, standing out from the architecture around it. The building behind me right here, this house, is the house of Devon Pavlov. Pavlov was a famous physiologist. You might know about him because of his work on classical conditioning, the most famous of which you might know as Pavlov's dog, the work for which he won a Nobel Prize. He was born here in 1849 and lived here until 1870, and this house is preserved in his memory, how it was when he lived there. There's another building next door which has been transformed into a museum. He didn't live there, but it's now owned by the same estate, and he's transformed into a museum about his work and his life. Guys, this is the end of my time here in Ryazan. My train is right behind me. I'm going back to Moscow. I hope you enjoyed this little compact description of Ryazan. I didn't have so much time here, and to be honest, there's not that many sites here, but it's quite a beautiful small place which is worth a little day trip. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you like, and if you're from Ryazan or you have comments about what I've said about this city, please write them down below. And if you want to see more videos around Moscow, about different cities around Russia, and about my life here in Russia, I'd really appreciate it if you gave me a subscription. Thank you and goodbye.